Hello and thanks for joining us on this week's edition of Galaxy Line. I am Segun Aderiye, welcoming you to the show. Today on the program, I bring you another eminent personality to rub minds with. My guest today is a professional colleague who, having practiced broadcast journalism for 30 years, has moved on to other fields of human endeavor. Today, he's not just a communication specialist, he's also a circuit speaker, a social entrepreneur, and a Plan B consultant. On leaving the broadcasting terrain 30 years ago, he ventured into the private sector where he served as group head, brand management and corporate affairs at the UBA. He also became a chairman of a couple of indigenous business concerns. At the international level, he served as trade commissioner with the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service. His extracurricular activism is in the area of charity, having served for many years as chairman of the Anglo-Nigeria Welfare Association for the Blind. May I present to you my guest on Galaxy Line this first Saturday of June 2016, former senior editor, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, and former Voice of America correspondent, Oge Eboige. Welcome, Oge.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
We'll take a break at this point, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, and in case you're just tuning in, you are on to Galaxy Line, your weekend news and current affairs personality interview program. My guest on the show today is Oge Eboige, a professional colleague who has transformed to become a social entrepreneur and a Plan B consultant. That's what he likes to be referred to as. In the next 15 minutes or so, we shall be rubbing minds on the broadcast journalism profession, the private sector practice, charity work, and of course, one or two topical national issues. Yes, let me begin with you this way. As a public relations practitioner, how will you describe Nigeria's state as at today?
That's a tough one. Remember the last dispensation, there was this plan to rebrand Nigeria because the government and all of us actually felt that Nigeria's image was not the best that we could have. Now, when the new government came in, there was talk about the country being so corrupt, we needed to fight corruption so that our image can be better. A couple of weeks ago, the Prime Minister of UK called us a fantastically corrupt nation. That is not a good image to have out there. And there is no doubt that we need to do another rebranding exercise. And this should be a much better experience, having learned from what we tried to do the last time. Our image is not the best out there. In practically all spheres, many of our citizens are in Asia, in jail, or some were executed a couple of weeks ago for carrying drugs. Some of our citizens too are among those who die in the Mediterranean Sea trying to cross to Europe for greener pastures. Well, that is what they think they are going for. And of course, the old scam thing is still on, the 419 and all that. And with the Panama Papers that came up last month, too. Yes, Nigerian names were flying all over there. So I think we ought to be, in a better plane as far as the image of our country is concerned.
So how do you relate that to the thrust of the current administration in Nigeria, particularly in the area of fighting corruption?
Corruption is not the only thing that will soil your image. There are a whole lot of other things that I mentioned, like the drug trafficking, the scams that everybody or many of our people, Yahoo boys perpetrate. even though we still say it takes two to tangle, because they seem to be able to scam either the North Americans or the Australians and all that after almost 50 years that the phenomenon started. We still need to tackle all that. We had used sports in the past to try and, amend our image. Our sports has not been on the same plane it was those days when everybody would shout Nigeria soccer, Nigeria athletics and all that. So there are many areas we can look at to use to ensure that we have a better image. And it starts right from the top to the lowest level person in this country. We need to do something drastic to ensure that our image is polished.
How do you describe the state of Nigeria right now? I'm not even talking about corruption, no corruption now. The present state of Nigeria. You live here.
Yes, I'm a Nigerian. I live in Lagos. I've been here for about 40 years. And a lot of things have happened in the last few months. There's a lot of suffering in the land. I remember the musician those days, was that Jimmy Cliff or someone? There's a lot of suffering in the land. Things are hard for a whole lot of people. Many workers have not received their salaries for months, even government workers. Today I was reading how some banks have retrenched several thousands of workers. It means that it is not only in the political space that we have problems. We have huge problems on the economic level. The Naira is exchanging for 350. Sterling is going 507 Naira to 1. Things are hard, and they are likely to get harder. We've been told that we'll suffer a little bit, that things will get better. I hope it gets better soon, so that many of us don't pass on before that time comes. But there's real suffering in the land, and many people say Nigerians are good at praying for better times to come. I pray too that things will get better for all of us, but we all need to work hard. After the belt tightening that is going on now, thank God we've been able to sort out the fuel scarcity matter, but the price of fuel is way high up there, 145 Naira a liter, and diesel, as I'm told, has also gone up. Aviation fuel is scarce, and airlines are canceling flights and all. There needs to be something drastic that should be done to ensure that we don't suffer longer than we should.
You have an idea how we can scale all these hurdles?
A lot of people always talk about government. Government cannot do everything. Those days when we were growing up, when we were in school, company executives will come to your university, polytechnic, and all that to conduct interviews, to recruit you. These days, the jobs are not anywhere. So we must start from the school level to teach our children to be entrepreneurs right from school level. So whether you're in primary or secondary or tertiary institution, we must teach our kids to be able to do things with their hands. Even if they are going to be studying, they should side by side learn to do something that will be providing them with some income, providing their parents with, little less pressure at home to provide them with the money to pay.
Yes, I saw in your profile that you are a Plan B consultant. Is it the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yes, more of a Plan B specialist. It's a bit different. For entrepreneurship, we have always envisaged, try to convince universities and polytechnics and other tertiary institutions to include entrepreneurship development in their curriculum, so that all the kids learn that when they come out, they will have learned what to do, because the jobs are no longer there to pick up. Whether it's white collar or blue collar or green collar, the jobs are not there anymore. So the earlier we learn to teach our children to be entrepreneurs, the better. As to being a Plan B specialist, I'm one of those who believe that nobody should keep one job. If you have a job, a regular job, I suggest that try and do something else on the side, because anything can happen anytime. For instance, you are in the TV station or radio station, you have a job there. Try and do something else on the side. Because, I mean, when I was in Radio Nigeria,
in those days we called it PP.
PP.
Right? Private
PP,
practice.
Yes, yeah.
How moral is that?
You can even be a stringer. You can be a stringer.
That's no PP.
As long as it does not affect your, regular job. Ensure that you do not use your corporate time for your.
That's where the challenge is. A lot of people do that.
I mean, you have how many hours you spend a day at your job? Maybe you do an 8 to 5 job. So from 5 to 8 the next day, what happens? You just lay around and watch TV at home. When hunger comes, you won't eat the TV. Just program yourself and ensure that you can develop a plan B. If your wife has no job, or even if she has a job, you can make her your plan B. Set up something for her, just in case something happens. You can have an income that you may not even be touching at any point in time. A lot of our big business people do not have just one stream of income. Dangote, Adenuga, Bill Gates and all that. They all run several businesses going side by side. It must be possible for you. You may not have several businesses. You don't have the capital and all to do what they have. Try and do something else on the side. My VOA job, I started doing in the mid-80s. I was still on the radio, in Radio Nigeria, but I was using a pseudonym. It was a night business. We used to be called Nitel, because there was no emails, no international telephony and all that. We used the telex system. A lot of our journalist friends those days, we used to be somewhere stringing for AP, AFP, BBC and all that. We meet at Net Building at night to go and send your reports to your various agencies that you're reporting for. And as long as it does not, affect your plan A,
job, your plan A.
You can do it, yes, because anything can happen.
Okay, you left the broadcasting profession some 30 years ago. Why did you leave then? Was it for the proverbial golden fleece?
Greener pastures and all that.
Greener pasture?
Somehow, when I joined the radio in '78, I was posted to the airport. I was an airport correspondent, Radio Nigeria. And, in '79, the politicians came in, Shagari came in. Now, because at the airport, we were the first group that the politicians would always meet, Zik, Awo, Shagari and all that. Then they knew the airport correspondents and they were familiar with us. They obviously liked what we were doing. So when President Shagari came, practically all of us at the airport were moved to State House, what used to be called Jordan Barracks, as State House correspondents. Practically all of us, until we whittled down to radio, TV, and NAN. So from being an airport correspondent, I became a State House correspondent. And then when the current president came in '83, I left the State House. I was posted to the Foreign Ministry. After that, I served 2 foreign ministers in their offices. So it's like I had good postings and moved, a bit when I was the radio. At the time I was going to leave, it looked like there was really nowhere else for me to, move what I would enjoy doing anymore. And since I was covering the foreign bit in the foreign ministry, I was also covering the diplomatic missions. I got to know about openings in diplomatic missions. My first job, actually, I got it at the USIS, but I didn't take it up because I wasn't satisfied with what they were going to pay me. And then the opening in the Canadian High Commission came up for an information officer. And it was interesting. Quite a lot of people were interviewed, a lot of our colleagues in the media were interviewed. And it sounded much better. The pay was, of course, much better. At that time, the Naira was higher than the dollar. Okay, it was about 70 cents to the Naira. It wasn't even 1 to 1.
So the bottom line is you left for greener
Yeah,
pasture.
I got something much better, and it was interesting.
Okay, looking back into those old days of broadcasting, all right, now comparing and contrasting to what the situation is today,
Today, yes.
what do you say?
Well, well, of course, there's more technology. It's easier to use techie stuff for broadcasting and for everything. But I'm a bit disappointed that the quality seems to have gone down. Quite a lot of programming is based on telephony, phoning and all. And it looks like most of the programs are also unscripted. Those days we script everything. It's reaching down.
That's
And
what you saw at the opening of this program.
Yes, I saw you. That is from the old school. You are of the old school. Now somebody just goes into the studio, puts on the mic and starts rapping and putting on the music, and people start phoning in. And it's almost so transient, both radio and television. And then the language too, I think we are faltering in that direction. I think our broadcasters need to speak better. There are some words they are using that would not have been allowed those days. Some phrases, we had things we used to call NTBB, not to be broadcast those days. Now it's like everything goes now. I think we need training, a lot of training of our broadcasters and journalists in broadcasting so that we can provide for those coming behind a better broadcast system.
Now,